The Alien War Council gathered inside the Great Hall. The walls were tall and made of dark stone, lit by glowing crystals. Every alien leader sat around the wide table, their faces hard, their eyes sharp. They spoke in low voices, planning their next move. For many years, the galaxy had feared these aliens. They were called the Zorth, hunters of worlds, destroyers of armies. Planets had fallen to them, and races had bent their knees. The Zorth were proud, powerful, and merciless. Now they wanted a new target. One of the younger commanders stepped forward, his armor shining, his voice bold. "Earth," he said with a cruel smile. "A small blue planet, weak, unguarded." "Simple," the other leaders laughed, their sharp teeth flashing. To them, Earth was nothing. No great fleets, no ancient weapons, no empire in the stars, just humans, living quietly, unaware of the danger above. The Zorth thought it would be easy. One strike, one invasion, and Earth would fall. It was, in their eyes, a perfect choice, but it was their first mistake. In space above Earth, the invasion ships gathered, dark and sharp like knives. They blocked out the stars. Inside the ships, soldiers prepared their weapons. They imagined glory, trophies, and victory songs. They did not fear the humans. They did not even consider them worth fearing. Down below, humans looked up at the sky. Strange lights moved across the night, silent and slow. People whispered, wondering if they were meteors or strange weather, but governments knew the truth. Radars screamed warnings. Satellites showed shadows moving. The invasion had begun in a hidden base. Deep under the mountains, human leaders met. They were calm, but their eyes carried the weight of history. For years, humans had known that one day something would come from the stars, and for years they had prepared, not with pride, not with arrogance, but with quiet patience. The Zorth had not seen this. They had only looked at Earth's surface, not into its heart. When the first alien ships entered the sky, the world held its breath. Cities fell silent, streets emptied, children clung to their parents. The Zorth descended, their voices filled with cruel laughter. They thought the game was already won. They thought the humans were prey. They were wrong. The first wave of soldiers landed in a desert. Their machines walked on 6 legs, heavy and strong. Their banners flew in the wind. One commander shouted, "This world belongs to the Zorth." But the ground itself seemed to disagree. The desert shook, hidden doors opened. From beneath the sand rose machines the aliens had never seen. Human war machines, built in secret. Waiting for this day, the aliens were surprised. For the first time, their smiles faded. The humans attacked with fire and steel. Missiles screamed through the air. Cannons roared. Alien machines shattered. Alien soldiers fell. It was not an easy fight, but it was not the easy victory the Zorth had expected. High above, in the command ship, the alien leaders watched with confusion. "This is not possible." One growled, "They are only humans." Another hissed. But the truth was clear. Humans were not as weak as they had believed. They fought with a fire the Zorth did not understand. Not only with weapons, but with something deeper. A spirit, a will, a refusal to kneel. Still, the aliens pushed harder. They sent more soldiers, more ships, more fire. The humans resisted. City by city, street by street, it was a storm. And yet, the humans stood. The aliens called it stubbornness. The humans called it survival. In one burning city, a young soldier stood with his rifle. Smoke covered the sky. Flames ate the buildings. He looked up at the giant alien machine above him. His hands shook, but his eyes did not. He fired again and again, one soldier among millions. But together, they made something the Zorth had never faced before. The aliens had power, but the humans had heart. And in that moment, the mistake of the Zorth was clear. They had chosen Earth. They had chosen humanity. And that choice would cost them more than they could ever imagine, because the humans were not prey. The humans were hunters in their own way, silent, patient, waiting for the right moment. And now, the moment had come. The first battle was only beginning. But already, the galaxy had changed. The Zorth had made their mistake, and humanity was about to show them why no one should ever call Earth weak. The silence inside the alien ship was heavy, broken only by the soft hum of strange machines. The human, his name was Daniel, walked carefully through the wide hall, his eyes darting to every corner. Everything around him glowed with a pale silver light. The walls seemed alive, pulsing like veins of a giant beast. It didn't feel like metal. It felt like something breathing. Daniel wanted to leave. He wanted to run back to Earth, but the tall shadow behind him reminded him he was trapped. The war goddess followed, her long steps echoing against the floor, 7 feet of armored strength, glowing eyes, and a presence. That made Daniel's heart pound. Her hair flowed like black fire. Her armor shimmered with sharp edges, and her tail, yes, a long scaled tail swished lazily as if warning him. She had not spoken since she caught him. But her gaze burned into his back. Daniel swallowed hard, thinking of what started this nightmare. One simple joke, one playful line. Nice tail. The goddess stopped suddenly, and Daniel froze. Her voice cut through the silence, deep and commanding. Human, she said, do you know what you have done? Daniel turned, his mouth dry. I was joking. I didn't mean... Silence. She snapped, her voice thunderous, making the walls tremble, her eyes narrowed, glowing. Brighter, on my world, words are power. And to speak to a warrior goddess as you did, it is no small thing. Daniel felt his stomach drop. He wanted to argue, to say it was a mistake, but the sharp edge of her tone left no space. She stepped closer, towering over him, her armor plates clicking softly. Her breath was warm, her fangs visible when she spoke again. You have challenged me. Daniel blinked, confused. Challenged? I didn't, I was just... Her hand shot forward, gripping his collar, lifting him like a child. To flirt with me is to claim courage, to prove you are worthy, she hissed. Now you cannot leave this ship until it is decided. Daniel's heart raced. Her words were insane, terrifying. Yet something in her eyes told him this was no joke. He was trapped in a ritual he did not understand. The war goddess dropped him, and he staggered, trying to catch his breath. She turned and motioned for him to follow. Walk, she commanded, her voice echoing like thunder in the hollow halls. Daniel followed, his mind spinning. The corridor opened into a massive chamber, glowing with blue fire, trapped inside crystal. Pillars, strange alien symbols floated in the air, circling around like living flames. At the center stood a raised platform like an arena. The goddess walked into it, her movements proud and fierce, then turned to him. This ship has witnessed trials of warriors for 1,000 years, she said. Now it will witness yours. Daniel shook his head. Wait me? I'm not a fighter. I'm not. Her tail cracked against the ground like a whip, silencing him. You spoke the words, human, and now you will show if you are prey. Or something else. Her eyes locked on his, sharp and piercing. Daniel's chest tightened, fear crawling over him. But beneath that fear, something strange stirred, a spark of defiance. He didn't want to die. Not like this. Not mocked by a 7-foot alien goddess. The chamber walls shimmered, and weapons formed out of glowing light. Long spears, curved blades, and strange alien weapons Daniel could not name. The goddess reached for one, a long spear tipped with crackling blue energy. She spun it with ease, the air hissing where it cut. Choose, she said coldly, pointing to the hovering weapons. Daniel's hands trembled. He had never held more than a kitchen knife, but he knew if he refused, she might kill him on the spot. His eyes scanned the glowing weapons until one caught his eye. A short staff, simple compared to the others, glowing faintly white. He grabbed it, the energy burning his palm, but it felt alive. The goddess tilted her head, watching him with curiosity. Interesting, she murmured. You choose the staff of guardians, not the blade of warriors. Daniel didn't know what that meant, but he raised it awkwardly. The war goddess leveled her spear, and the ground beneath them pulsed with light. The trial had begun. She lunged, faster than his eyes could follow. The spear tip came for his chest. An instinct screamed move. Daniel rolled aside. The crackle of energy grazing his shoulder, burning through his jacket. Pain shot through him, but adrenaline kept him moving. He swung the staff clumsily, sparks bursting where it struck her spear. The sound echoed like thunder. The war goddess grinned, a fierce, hungry grin. Yes, she growled. Show me more, human. Her tail whipped toward him. But Daniel ducked. The air hummed with deadly speed. His heart pounded, his body screaming with exhaustion already. But something deep inside him told him he could not stop. He had made a mistake, yes. But maybe, just maybe, it was a mistake that could change everything. The goddess advanced again, faster, stronger, relentless. Daniel's arm shook as he blocked another strike, the staff glowing brighter with each clash. And though he was outmatched, though he was terrified, one thing became clear. She was testing him. This wasn't only about punishment. It was about proving something. But what? The chamber shook with their clash, sparks flying, shadows dancing against the glowing walls. And as Daniel's knees nearly buckled, as the war goddess loomed over him with her spear ready to strike again, he met her eyes. And for the first time, he saw something in them that froze him more than fear. Respect. The alien war goddess sat on her throne of dark metal, her tall figure glowing under the cold blue lights of her ship. Her soldiers stood like statues around. The room, their armor heavy, their weapons sharp. But all eyes were not on them. They were on the human. The man stood in the middle of the chamber. His heart was loud in his chest. He remembered his mistake, the joke, the flirt, the words that had chained him to her. And now she was not smiling anymore. Her golden eyes burned with something else: curiosity, power, and hunger. Do you know why you are still alive, human? Her voice rolled across the hall, slow and deep, like thunder. He swallowed hard. Because you want me here, he answered. A murmur went through the alien guards. No one had ever spoken to her so directly before. They looked ready to cut him down. But she raised her hand, and silence returned. You are clever, she said, but cleverness can be dangerous. I will see how far your courage goes. She rose from her throne, every movement graceful yet terrifying. She was 7 feet tall, her armor carved with glowing runes, her hair long and silver, flowing like liquid light. She stopped in front of him, towering over him, and whispered, "Let us play a game." The words froze him. He knew that whatever she meant, it would not be simple. The floor of the hall shifted. Dark tiles moved, forming patterns. The chamber changed into a circle arena. The guards stepped back, their eyes hungry for blood. This is the game of power, she said, her lips curving into a sharp smile. Survive, and you may earn my favor. Fail, and you will die. The man's throat went dry. He looked around. The arena was alive, walls shifting, spikes rising, fire erupting from hidden vents. It was not just a test of strength. It was a labyrinth of death. And then the challenge began. A creature crawled out from the shadows of the arena. It was massive, with 4 arms and jaws lined with teeth. Its skin shimmered with scales that reflected the blue light. The man stepped back, his mind racing. The goddess crossed her arms, her voice echoing, "Fight, human. Show me what you truly are." He had no weapon, no shield, nothing but his body and his will. The beast roared and charged. The man dodged, rolling across the hard tiles. The creature slammed its arms down, shaking the ground. Sparks and fire burst from the walls. Every move was a trap. The arena wanted him dead. He scrambled up, his eyes searching. He spotted a piece of broken metal lying near the edge. He dove for it, barely avoiding the monster's claws. His fingers closed around the shard. It was jagged, sharp enough to cut. The alien war goddess watched with sharp eyes, her expression unreadable. Was she hoping he would die? Or was she testing how much he could endure? The beast roared again and lunged. He swung the shard with all his strength. It sliced across the creature's arm. Black blood sprayed across the tiles. The monster howled in rage. The crowd of soldiers hissed and shouted, some in anger, some in surprise. No human had ever lasted this long in the game of power, but the fight was far from over. The creature attacked faster now, claws cutting through the air. The man ducked, twisted, and fought back. Every strike was a gamble, every second a battle for life. His arms ached, his breath burned, yet something inside him refused to give up, and she noticed it. The war goddess tilted her head, her golden eyes narrowing, her lips curved slightly, as if she saw something no one else could. Finally, the beast made its final charge. It leapt, jaws wide, claws spread. He waited until the last second, then dropped low, driving the shard into its chest. The monster's momentum carried it forward, and it crashed onto the tiles, twitching before falling still. Silence. Then the hall shook with the sound of alien roars and cries. The guards pounded their weapons against the ground, some in anger, some in awe. The man stood in the center, his body trembling, covered in blood, most of it not his own. He was alive. He had won. The goddess stepped forward slowly, her golden eyes fixed on him. She reached out and touched his chin, lifting his head to look at her. You are not weak, she whispered. Perhaps you are even dangerous. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were sharp. He realized then that this was not just a game. It was a trap, a test, a way for her to decide his fate. But as she smiled, he felt another truth in her gaze. She was not planning to let him go, not ever. And the real game of power had only just begun. The alien warship was alive with whispers. Wherever the human walked, eyes followed him. Some aliens looked at him with curiosity, others with cold hatred. Word had spread through the halls. This small human had dared to flirt with their war goddess. And now she had announced something unthinkable. A challenge, not a game, not a private punishment. A challenge in front of the crew. A trial that would decide if the human was worthy of staying, or if he would be thrown into space, forgotten forever. The war goddess stood at the center of the training hall. Her tall figure shone under the pale blue lights. The long blade in her hand reflected fire from her eyes. She was calm, but her voice thundered when she spoke. This human thought himself bold enough to touch me with words. She paused, turning, slowly, her golden eyes scanning her soldiers. Now, let us see if he is bold enough to face me with strength. The crowd cheered. Their heavy voices shook the metal walls. The human stood at the edge of the hall. His chest was tight, his palms sweaty, but he forced himself to meet her gaze. If he showed fear, they would laugh. If he ran, they would kill him before he reached the door dot. So he did the only thing a human could do in such a moment. He smiled. The war goddess narrowed her eyes. Still arrogant, she said softly, almost like a promise. The training hall's floor shifted. Strange lines of energy carved into the metal began to glow. A circle lit up around them, an arena. The human's stomach dropped. He had watched enough alien movies to know exactly what this meant. This wasn't practice. This was a fight. War goddess raised her blade high. The alien soldiers roared in excitement. The human had no weapon, no armor, nothing but his body and his wits. But he had something they didn't. Humans were survivors. He took a slow breath. He remembered his father's words back on Earthwards, even to him before he left on this wild journey. Son, sometimes the fight isn't about winning. Sometimes it's about showing the world that you won't break. The bell rang. The challenge began. The war goddess moved first. She was impossibly fast for her size. One moment she was standing still, the next she was a blur of motion, her blade flashing down toward him. The human dove aside, rolling across the floor as the blade smashed into the ground with a sound like thunder. Sparks flew. The crowd shouted. In approval, he scrambled to his feet, his heart hammered. She was stronger, faster, taller. Everything was against him. But she had one weakness. She underestimated him. The human ran, circling her, forcing her to chase. Each time her blade came down, he dodged, slipped, or rolled away. The aliens laughed at first, thinking it was cowardice. But then something strange happened. Minutes passed. The war goddess grew sharper, angrier, her movements harder. Yet the human still dodged, still breathed, still smiled. The crew grew silent. They had expected the human to be crushed in seconds. But he was still standing. The war goddess snarled. Enough running. Her blade came again, faster than before. The human ducked under it, and with desperate courage, he slammed his fist against her armored leg. It didn't hurt her. It probably felt like a tap, but the crowd gasped because no one had ever dared touch her in combat. The human backed away quickly, heart racing, but he grinned. Tag, you're it. The crowd erupted. Half in outrage, half in disbelief, the war goddess froze for a moment. Then slowly to the horror of her soldiers, she laughed. It was a low, dangerous laugh. The kind that promised pain. You dare mock me, she said. Voice like ice. The human swallowed, but kept his smile. I dare survive. The hull shook as she charged again. The human braced himself. His body screamed. His legs burned, but he would not fall, not yet. Every dodge, every slip, every desperate move bought him another second of life. Another second of defiance. And with every second, the war goddess's golden eyes watched him differently. Not as prey. Not as a joke, but as something else. Something she could not name. The challenge was far from over. But one thing had become clear to everyone watching. The human was no ordinary fool. He was something far more dangerous. A survivor who refused to break. The halls of the alien warship glowed with a soft silver light. Every wall carried strange symbols, alive with energy, whispering in a language the human could not understand. The crew avoided him now. Wherever he walked, warriors stepped aside, lowering their gazes, as if he carried something dangerous. And he was beginning to feel it. The alien war goddess was no longer treating him like a guest or a prisoner. She was treating him like something more. Something she needed. He remembered her towering figure when she first dragged him aboard, mocking his small size, calling him weak. Yet now, when she looked at him, her golden eyes were filled with hunger. Almost desperation. Why? That question aided him as he followed her deeper into the heart of her ship. They entered a massive chamber. The floor shimmered with black crystal, and in the center stood a throne carved from a single piece of glowing stone. Around it burned blue torches that gave off no smoke, no heat, only light. She sat on the throne, her massive frame leaning forward, her hands gripping the armrests like claws. Her gaze locked onto him, sharp and unblinking. You do not understand. Human, she said slowly, her voice low, dangerous. You think you made a mistake when you spoke to me with your foolish earth words, but it was not a mistake. It was fate. He swallowed hard. Fate? Yes. Her teeth glinted in the dim light. Do you know why my warriors step aside when you pass? Why no one dares to challenge you, though you are small? He shook his head. His heart pounded in his chest. Her voice echoed in the chamber, filled with strange emotion. Because you are chosen. My kind has long searched for a mate strong enough to balance us. For centuries, we crushed empires, but no male of our race could endure me. They broke. They bent. They feared me. But you— Her words struck him like a blade. I am not strong, he protested. I am just human. She rose from the throne, towering over him. The floor trembled under her weight. She leaned closer, her breath hot on his skin. You resisted me, she whispered. When I tried to frighten you, you smiled. When I tested you, you stood. When I struck at your pride, you dared to answer back. No warrior has ever done that, without falling to their knees. Her eyes burned brighter now, like fire caught in a storm. You do not see it, human, but I do. You are not prey. You are my equal. The human's hands curled into fists. He did not know whether to laugh or to run. Equal? With a 7-foot alien war goddess who could crush steel in her hands? But there was something in her voice, something raw, something terrifyingly honest. He realized then that her obsession wasn't just hunger or lust. It was need. She was a weapon who had ruled with strength and fear all her life. Every ally had been too weak to stand beside her. Every rival had been destroyed. She was alone in empire, wrapped in flesh-dot, and now she saw him as the one thing she had been missing, the one who would not break, the one who could not run. You don't understand what you're asking, he said, forcing his voice to stay steady. I can't be what you want. She tilted her head, studying him like a predator watching prey squirm. But there was no mockery now, only truth. You think you have a choice? She said. I have already chosen you. That is why you cannot leave this ship. That is why every corridor leads you back to me. You are mine. The words hit like chains. He looked around the chamber, at the warriors standing in shadows, their heads bowed. None would help him. None would even meet his eyes. This was no longer just a mistake. This was a trap woven, not from steel or walls, but from her obsession. She stepped closer again, so close her shadow swallowed him. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I will not let you go. Not because you are human, not because you are small, but because for the first time in all my battles, I am afraid. Afraid to lose you. His chest tightened. Afraid? A goddess of war admitting fear? That truth was more terrifying than her strength. And in that moment, he understood. He was not her prisoner. He was her weakness. The human's mind raced. If she truly saw him as her equal, maybe he could use it. Maybe he could turn her obsession into something that might save him, or destroy him. But for now, one fact was clear. The alien war goddess was not chasing him because of a mistake. She was keeping him because in her eyes, he was the only thing she could never conquer. And that truth was far more dangerous than any battle. The prison was silent, but silence in an alien place was never safe. It was the silence of predators watching, waiting, ready to strike, the human. Daniel sat against the cold wall, his mind full of chaos. His hands ached from chains, but his heart ached from something stranger. Her, the alien woman, Serenia, stood near the door, her tail glowing faint blue. Her eyes were fixed on him like a hunter. Yet her expression was full of conflict. She was supposed to hate him, to break him, to make him kneel like all humans before. But she didn't, and that was the danger. She kept coming closer each day, asking questions in a soft voice, not about his strength, but about his world, about Earth, about humanity. Daniel could feel her obsession growing, the way her voice trembled when she spoke. as if she was holding a secret even she did not understand. "Why don't you fight me, human?" She whispered that night, her face close, her tail curling with unease. "Because," Daniel answered calmly, "I see no enemy in you." Those words shook her more than any weapon. But escape was always in his mind. The other humans in. Different cells needed him. He knew they were testing him, making him part of some cruel game. He could not afford to sit here and let obsession become a cage. That night, a storm broke outside the fortress. Alien lightning struck across the skies, shaking the walls. Daniel used the noise to test the chains, pulling, twisting the metal. Groaned, a little weaker than before, Serenia appeared, watching him, her voice low. "You plan to run," she said, not asking but knowing. He met her gaze. "Wouldn't you?" Her silence was the answer. For the first time, she opened the door herself. Not fully, but enough for him to see freedom beyond. Her hands shook as she whispered, "If you run, they'll hunt you. If you stay, they'll break you. What will you choose, Daniel?" The choice cut deep. He wanted to run, to save his people, but her eyes held something that stopped him. A silent plea. Not for him to escape, but for him to stay. She stepped closer, her voice trembling. "Do you know why I cannot kill you? Do you know why my hand shakes when I raise my blade?" Daniel stayed quiet, his heart racing Serenia's. Breath grew heavy, her secret breaking. "It is because you are not weak like they say. It is because when you look at me, I feel human." Her words echoed like thunder in his chest. For the first time, he saw fear in her, not of him, but of herself. The storm grew louder, chains rattled against the wall, and in that moment, Daniel realized his prison was no longer just metal. It was the bond forming between them, a bond that could save him or destroy him. He spoke carefully, his voice low but steady. "Serenia, if I escape, will you follow me?" Her eyes widened, glowing faint under the storm's light. "Follow you," she whispered, "or hunt you." Her hand touched his chain, and with one strike of her glowing blade, it broke. The sound was sharp, final. Daniel stood free for the first time since capture. But freedom felt heavier than chains. "Go," she said, her voice torn between command and prayer, but his feet refused to move, because leaving meant breaking the bond he did not understand. And staying meant risking everything. The thunder roared again, shaking the fortress. Other guards would come soon, the moment would vanish, and so Daniel faced the question that burned in his chest. Would he run for escape, or stay for the bond? He took one step forward, and the world itself seemed to hold its breath. The hall was silent. Only the sound of the wind outside moved through the cracks of the alien stone walls. Ethan stood in the center, chained but no longer weak. His eyes burned with a fire the aliens had never seen before. The Empress sat on her high throne, her face calm but her hands restless. She had played games with him, tested him, broken him, and rebuilt him. But now the final moment had come. "Human," her voice echoed through the chamber, "you have seen our power. You have felt our cruelty. Yet you have survived every test." Her eyes narrowed, sharp like blades. "Now you must decide, will you live as one of us, or die as one of your own?" The crowd of alien warriors roared. Some demanded his death. Others whispered of his strength. A human who had endured their trials and still stood tall. Ethan's chest rose and fell slowly. He remembered the nights of pain, the endless challenges. The Empress watching him not with hate, but with a strange hunger. It was not only power she wanted, it was something deeper, something she herself could not explain. He looked up at her and spoke. "If I choose to live as one of you, I become a shadow of myself. If I choose death, I give you the victory of ending me." His voice was steady, though inside his heart raced. The Empress leaned forward, her golden crown catching the dim light. "You do not understand, human. Your choice is greater than life or death. If you stand with me, I will make you a king. Beside me, if you refuse, I will destroy not only you, but every world that shelters your kind." The words struck him like thunder. This was no game anymore. It was not only his life at stake, it was Earth itself, the very people who did not even know he was here, fighting for them. The chains on his wrists felt heavier, but at the same time, he realized something. He was not chained in spirit, not anymore. Every trial had forged him. Every wound had turned into a scar that told a story of defiance. Ethan raised his head. His voice grew stronger. "You think my choice is to stand with you or die, but you are wrong. My choice is to remind you what it means to fear, what it means to face a human who will not bend." The chamber went silent. Even the guards shifted. Uneasily, the Empress's eyes widened just slightly, not in anger, but in something closer to fascination. "Fear," she whispered. It was a word she had not spoken in years. Her empire had crushed countless species. No one had dared defy her in this way. Ethan pulled at the chains. The crowd gasped as the metal cracked. Blood ran from his wrists, but his strength did not falter. He broke free, and for the first time, he stood without restraint before her throne. The Empress rose, her voice sharp. "You dare." But her heart was racing too. No one had ever done this. No one had ever made her doubt. Ethan took a step forward. Then another. The soldiers raised their weapons, but she lifted her hand to stop them. This was no longer about the army. It was about her and him. "You claim to rule through fear," he said, "but you do not understand it. Fear is not when others bow to you. Fear is when one stands against you and refuses to fall. That is what I give you today." The Empress's lips trembled, but her face held steady. "You are either a fool or the strongest being I have ever seen." Her voice softened for the first time. "Tell me, Ethan, will you kill me now, or will you stay and rule beside me?" The hall froze. Every alien eye stared at the human. A single moment that stretched like eternity. Ethan's mind burned with choices. If he killed her, her empire might collapse. But if he stayed, he risked becoming part of the very power he hated. Both paths were heavy with consequences. He closed his eyes for a breath, and then he opened them. "I will not kill you," he said. Gasps echoed through the chamber. "But I will not kneel either. You may call me fool, but I call myself free. And if freedom is death, then so be it." The Empress stared at him, her body tense, her eyes unreadable, and then, slowly, she smiled, not with mockery, not with cruelty, but with something no one had ever seen on her face. "Respect. Then you are truly dangerous, human," she said quietly, "and perhaps the only one who has ever beaten me." The hall fell silent once more. But this silence was different. It was the silence of awe, of something that could not be erased. Ethan had made his choice, not to rule, not to kneel, not even to fight, but to be human. And that, in the heart of the galaxy's most feared empire, was the most powerful choice of all.